Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at Nye Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my Nye VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome or visit us online at nyvwofrome.com.
The Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley was born when 3 top producing agents with over 25 years of combined experience selling real estate joined forces to take real estate to the next level. We practice with honesty, integrity, and the knowledge to help make the buying and selling process easy and stress-free for all of our clients. We pledge to always make our clients our top priority from start to finish and even after the house is closed. We will always be a valued resource for information and assistance for our buyers and sellers. Our customers over the years have become not only past clients, but great friends. As we join hands together as the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley, we look forward to serving our clients and our community and making a positive difference. You can reach us at 315-601-9630 for all of your real estate needs.
Hi, this is attorney Nick Pasalacqua. The team of attorneys I have assembled at Pasalacqua & Associates has been carefully hand-picked to include the best trial attorneys in the particular areas of the law that we practice. Have you been charged with DWI or any other crime? Members of our team include former assistant district attorneys, now fighting to protect your rights 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have you or someone you love been seriously injured in a motor vehicle accident? Members of the team at Pasalacqua & Associates include former insurance defense attorneys, now fighting to ensure that you get every penny you're entitled to. If you need legal help quick, don't waste your time or money calling anyone else. Remember, for legal help quick, you better call Nick and the team at Pasalacqua & Associates. 315-500-NICK or 315-500-6425 or visit cnytriallaw.com today.
The following program is an exclusive Disruption Networks production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the baseline. Play ball!
Everybody out there, I cut it off too soon. That's what I do.
We're a little rusty. It's been a
little
couple
rusty.
Weeks.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been so long since we've been going. But good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night. It's 9:12. We're into the teeth of September, and we are the baseline. It's JP here with SPG. Man, September 12th. Not too many games left, and we're in the same circumstance that we've been in for so long.
2.5 weeks left in the regular season.
The Boston Red Sox have now officially clinched a playoff position.
We have our first team that's clinched the playoffs.
99-46. The Boston Red Sox leading all of Major League Baseball as they have for our last 7 or 8 shows. They're just on another level still.
99 wins with 2.5 weeks to go in the season.
99 wins.
And some players in the conversation for significant awards and accolades this season as well. So, yeah, heck of a season for the Boston Red Sox. The obvious favorite for the World Series title, I'd say, this year. But the road won't be easy despite that. There are some other contending teams out there that should have a pretty good shot this postseason. Your Cleveland Indians, just to name one, the Houston Astros, maybe the Yankees. We shall see. But, yeah, like you said, we are rounding third base on the 2018 regular season.
That is so tough for me to even comprehend at this point in the season, that we've even made it here when we were coming here in the snow to do our first few shows, and now here we are, and we're rounded into, 25 games left. Dave, you're tuning in. How many games does everybody have left? It's just crazy. We're
2.5 weeks worth, whatever that calculates out to.
The greatest thing about the fact that we're winding it down, and we're calling it right now, we're winding down. Everybody knows we're towards the end of the season, but we haven't solved a damn thing. Not a damn thing.
The only thing that's been solved is Boston will be in the postseason. We know that for certain. Nothing else we do.
Yeah, Boston's probably going to have a home series, and I don't know, unless the unforeseeable happens in the last calendar weeks here in the season. Boston's going to have a nice cushy time waiting for the wild card to get settled, and the Yankees, as it sits right now, are going to be home, but not so fast. The ever-surging Oakland Athletics on the heels of now the Yankees. They have surmounted every team, it seems, in the AL since we started doing our show, or since the season started.
Yeah, and they're still only 3.5 behind Houston, too, so don't count them out for the
counting them out at
AL West.
Not at all.
I mean, you could be looking at a Houston-New
York game
Houston
in
Astros
Houston
versus New York Yankees game, potentially even in Houston.
In New York, it could be
that's
anywhere.
Not out of the question. That's not unrealistic.
So the wild card game, whereas 3 or 4 shows ago, we had talked about how it was probably settled that the Yankees would be hosting a wild card game and Boston would be hosting their playoff series, and all was right in the world. Not so fast, says the Oakland Athletics, who are trying to catch both the defending world champions.
And we thought that team would be the Seattle Mariners for a good portion of the season.
Faded.
And then
it's sad because some of these series coming up.
The Oakland A's, pardon me, just have been on fire.
Houston and Oakland do not play each other the rest of the way out, but Houston does have a big series coming up against Seattle.
And
so
it's
it
remarkable.
Made it a little better had Seattle.
It is remarkable that we're sitting here in the middle of September talking about how the Oakland Athletics, and we talk about this at least the last few shows since Oakland has really made this thing at the top of the division very interesting. I mean, we saw them coming for a while now, a couple months, but they've ascended right to that point where they have a chance to finish ahead of some of the most elite thought of teams, with stacked rosters and stacked pitching staffs. And you have that Oakland Athletics team just plugging away with, guys like Mike Fiers and Brett Anderson and Edwin Diaz. And we talk about it all the time, but it's just incredible. You think you've seen it all, and then you see a team with a pitching staff like that just make a run like this. And they are a team to keep an eye on in the postseason, too.
What's it all root back to? Managing.
Yeah, that's
Bob
right.
Melvin.
Bob Melvin.
That's it. It roots back to that.
Bob Melvin is inside the baseline for sure.
He is. He's cementing himself as one of the best managers in the game. If you already wasn't, and if you stuck around or have been around since the beginning of the season, we talked about Bob Melvin in depth a few times about how we're both pretty big fans, but you especially, you're a really big Bob Melvin fan, and it's paying off what you're talking about.
Dave chiming in. He's saying there is one other thing that has been solved, and that's that the Baltimore Orioles and the Kansas City Royals are horrible. Yeah. I think that's safe to say, too. So, yeah, good point, Dave. The Red Sox being great and clinching the postseason is not the only thing we've learned from the first 5.5 months of baseball season.
No, but so many storylines are developing. Really, nothing is completely settled. There are some things up in the air. The East is probably settled. The Central is very close to being settled, as I believe Cleveland's magic number, which I will be corrected on immediately if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 1 or 2. So I'm going to go with the 1 or 2 for the magic number of Cleveland. Dave's going to tell me in a second. Cleveland's very close, like we've been talking about for a while. Cleveland's been in cruise control. The ability to get that bullpen maybe tweaked a little bit. They got Andrew Miller back. Things looking up in Cleveland. That's a dangerous team. You're adding Josh Donaldson to that team now. Some shady stuff that we got to discuss later on in the show, perhaps unfolding, I guess. You and I had talked about it at the waiver deadline. The one that had just approached and passed. Prior to it coming, we were talking about Donaldson and how he was kind of raking in his assignment when he was down in AAA. And then how the Cleveland Indians added him right to the DL, and how it was maybe could have been a shady move.
I think they activated him. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I thought that they activated him to put him on the 40-man roster, and then they placed him back on the DL, which I think would just be retroactive to when he was placed on the DL 3 months ago, and then placed him right back on the DL.
We have struck a nerve with Dave. So that segue with the Crimea River Yankees fans and Astros fans, that segues into the fact that there has been official complaints filed on behalf of the Yankees and the Astros, and I thought the Red Sox too were another team that was in on that either way. Some people looking at it because he had to go through and pass a physical and in order to meet the requirements of the waivers, had to go and pass and say that, he's ready to play. And so he was ready to play and ended up on the DL. So some teams not happy about that. But nonetheless, Cleveland is adding, if he's at his peak level, they're adding potentially, a top 4 or 5 player in the game.
It's an excellent pickup. Yeah. I applaud.
And the funny thing is he ends up being, a top 4 or 5 player on that team because that team is just absolutely loaded.
Well, how about that infield now, too? And they're stacked. You got Donaldson at third base, so you can put Ramirez in at second and Lindor. I mean, in first base, Alonso and Encarnacion when he plays first. Yep. Just elite firepower in that Cleveland Indians infield now. And Donaldson, we'll have to see how it plays out. But, give up a decent prospect, but really next to nothing to add a bat like that for a potential long postseason run. So
Dave checking in again with a pretty good stat. Yesterday, the Tribe 1 through 9 started current or former All-Stars. Pretty good stat. The depth is there now for them.
So you have a lineup
and
that has
figured out the bullpen seemingly.
You have 9 guys in your lineup that have been All-Stars, and then you have that starting rotation on top of it. And
good position.
If the bullpen has finally righted itself, then look out for the Cleveland Indians.
It's a good
who were my World Series pick at the beginning of the year. They were my pick for World Series champions. So I hope I'm wrong because I want it to be the New York Yankees. But if it is not, then would love to see the Cleveland Indians make a run and take Boston down and win a championship. Long overdue in Cleveland, right, Dave?
It is. It is kind of long overdue, but maybe not this year. But they are loaded for bear, and they are going to go. They're going to go after it. I'll tell you that right now. And that's a scary lineup to have to go up against. And they've been in cruise control for over a month here. Dave says Cody Allen is looking a lot better. We already know about Brad Hand. Andrew Miller just came back. All good things. But a lot still yet to develop, like we said, storylines that have still yet to play out. NL and AL MVP, NL and AL Rookie of the Year. If AL Rookie of the Year isn't already decided for you, you haven't been watching baseball. And apparently,
we will touch on that a little bit later.
Somebody that I kind of idolized them a little bit. Not idolized. I use that word loosely, but somebody that we look to for pretty solid information, and we're going to talk about somebody that may or may not see the AL Rookie of the Year race how we kind of see it. But so many AL and NL MVP for sure. NL Cy Young, so much talk about an under 500 Jacob deGrom.
Setting records all over the place.
Absolutely. Has he done enough to earn himself a Cy Young? Absolutely. Absolutely he has. So is he going to win it? We don't know. So,
I hope he does. I really want to see Jake deGrom win the Cy Young this year.
But
I've watched a lot of games because I have personal interest as far as my fantasy baseball team goes. I'm in the middle of a pennant race in fantasy baseball myself, and I have Jake deGrom on my team. And when I have a chance, I'll tune in and I'll watch a deGrom start. For one thing, it's extremely entertaining. For another thing, I'm intrigued by how it could possibly help me win a fantasy baseball championship. But it is comical. Comical, I guess. Maybe it was comical a little while ago, but it has almost just gotten sad. How bad it is. How great Jacob deGrom is, and a lot of people don't realize how great of a season he is having, except for the just sad excuse
the best
of a
part
team
of
that
his
he plays for.
Entire season. The best part, for me anyway, is tuning in and seeing that he lost 2-1 or he lost 3-1, and the one run that was driven in was driven in by him.
Yeah,
And that's
does it all the time.
It's happened at least 4 times this year that I know of, that the only runs scored by the Mets in a Jacob deGrom start have been by Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, either runs or RBIs by Jacob deGrom, and that's happened on multiple occasions.
With the way that the win has been devalued, you're going to see Jacob deGrom, because nobody else is absolutely blowing away the NL. I mean, Scherzer's had his ups and downs lately. Playing for, who would have thought, like we were just talking a few seconds ago about the who would have thoughts going into the end of September here. Who would have thought we'd be talking about an end of September without the Washington Nationals or the Los Angeles Angels, 2 teams that we were kind of high on coming into the season, 2 teams that showed a lot of promise in the first 2 months. And now we're talking about a September and an October without them, pretty much. And we're going to get to the Angels for sure. A lot of big news with the UCLA Angels, the torn UCLA Angels. Shohei Ohtani and the decision to questionably keep him in the lineup and swinging a bat rather than getting him that surgery that he needs. So, lots to get
one more thing about Jacob deGrom too, and I know we have just discussed the heck out of that this season because it is such a fascinating story. And to put this in perspective, that people that aren't closely following along. Because I understand that not everybody is a super baseball, might be a casual fan out there that is interested in our show. To explain how unique this season is for Jake deGrom is last night.
So metty.
Last night he goes 7 innings. He allows 2 runs. He ends up losing the game. That was, let's see, he allows 3 or fewer runs for the 26th consecutive game last night. So 26
It's funny that Dave
of
gave
not
your
giving
stat
up.
too. Dave, I swear to God that Sean was going to give this one.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
So,
that's exactly what I'm getting at. So I'll give Dave credit for the second half of it. And to allude to what I was talking about with the 26 consecutive starts, Dave's chiming in and he says that broke Leslie King Cole's single-season Major League record of consecutive starts. With 3 runs or less. And that record stood for 108 years.
108 years.
Look what you've done, Mets.
He gets a charge.
Look at what you've done.
108 years. That's so metty.
It is very
so
metty.
metty.
And give
Jacob
the guy
deGrom,
give the guy the Cy Young.
How many, Dave, how many RBI does Jacob deGrom have? Does Jacob deGrom have more RBI? I bet you he's got more RBI that are the solo RBI in a game than he has wins.
Could very well be. At the very least, he has more runs plus RBIs. There's no doubt about it. He's got more than 8.
Yes. I bet you he's got more than 80 RBI. It's just crazy.
Yeah, look that one up, Dave, because I want to see it, and I'm too lazy to look it up.
So speaking of
I've got a million tabs open. I can't search for it.
Speaking of 108 years... That's going to lead us into this date in baseball history.
Yes, this date in baseball history. So there's a couple interesting ones. I'll say the most recent one first, and that's 2006. So that was 12 years ago. And the Braves on that day, on September 16th, or September 12th, 2006, they were mathematically eliminated from the division race. The Mets are tied into this one, too, because they beat the Marlins 6-4 that day. And the Braves won the division. That ended 14 consecutive division titles for the Atlanta Braves. 14 consecutive division pennants.
That's good, right?
That's good, right? The longest run for any team in professional sports.
But just that one title.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a heck of a team, and they definitely underachieved with championships, but yeah, some of the best players ever on those teams, pitching and hitting. So very impressive there. So this date in baseball history was the end of that run, and we'll go all the way back to 1930. So September 12th, 1930, the last Major League bounced home run is hit by catcher Al Lopez at Ebbets Field.
The bounce.
Because the NL still allowed bounce home runs in 1930, whereas the AL changed the rule in 1929. So a bounced home run could only occur with an NL team hitting in 1930. So that was the last one before it was ruled across Major League Baseball in both leagues that would now be a ground rule double. So 130 years, or in 1930, there was a bounced home run that counted.
Made like a bad check and bounced. So that's this date in baseball history. That's going to bring us into our rundown.
Let's do the rundown.
We're going to get into the rundown.
The rundown.
So we'll start in the AL East, where we already mentioned the Boston Red Sox have clinched a postseason berth. 99 wins.
99 wins by the Red Sox on the wall.
9 games up on the 90-win New York Yankees.
90 wins. 90 wins September 12th, and you are 9 games back.
And looking at a 1-game play-in.
Yep.
Tampa Bay just keeps getting better and better as this season goes on. They're now 80-65.
They have been playing fantastic, and I think that he's sewn it up with this little salvo here. I think Kevin Cash, as we've been talking about him being a candidate, I think Kevin Cash, with every single win that he rattled off here,
he's in the conversation.
I think he's stamping off some slack.
And with the unique things,
AL Manager of the Year,
the unique things he's done with the pitching staff,
and we're going to talk about the opener.
And how about Ryan Yarbrough?
So I think we're up to 7.
Ryan Yarbrough has 14 or 15 wins
as being the second guy in.
Yeah, 14 or 15 wins for Ryan Yarbrough
as being the second guy in. But the Boston Red Sox, the latest to deploy the opener, where they used Chris Sale to get some work in, trying to ease him back in. And I just think that if the Red Sox were in a fight for the division or for a playoff berth, that you would have seen Chris Sale a month ago. Maybe 3 weeks ago. I don't think you see him miss this many starts. I don't think you see him come back for the first time and pitch 1 inning like he did yesterday, 26 pitches. I just don't see it.
No, they had time to
luxury.
Yeah, they had the
99
luxury
and 46
of taking it slow with him and making sure that he was ready to come back. And why wouldn't you do that?
I mean, you're looking at the potential for 112 to 100 or 110 to 112 wins here.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I mean,
easily.
99 wins already, and there's 2.5 weeks left in the season.
Easily.
So Tampa Bay is 80-65. And here's something that caught my eye about Tampa Bay's record in this run that they have been on. If you look over at the NL West, the Tampa Bay Rays now have a better record than every team in the NL West, which includes the Rockies, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks. The Tampa Bay Rays would be in first place if they played in the NL West. And that's in a division with
that we said was going to be the best division in baseball.
2 teams in front of you that have a combined 189 wins right now, and they would be winning the NL West.
Props, total props to Tampa Bay. Logan Morrison, gone. Chris Archer, gone.
Corey Dickerson,
gone. They shed
Evan
all
Longoria,
these people.
gone.
Evan Longoria. How could I forget Evan Longoria? Gone.
Alex Cobb brought
gone.
Back.
Crazy that they lose all these guys.
Alex Colomé traded
really early, and that kicked off a flurry of trades. And speaking of relievers, stick around for our 7th inning stretch tonight because we're gonna discuss the all-time greatest relievers in Major League history. And the reason that we're going to do that is because we are into September. And the most important thing in the stretch run here for a lot of these teams is shoring up the back end of that bullpen. The last 9 outs of the game are very important. And all of this emphasis that we've been putting on talking about Tampa Bay here with the opener, throughout the show, we're really going to mention the importance of the reliever. With an opener, you're technically getting into the bullpen quicker, but we're going to talk about some bullpens going into September and who's in a good position, who's in a bad position, and who inexplicably is in no position whatsoever. So continue down the American League.
Speaking of teams being in no position whatsoever, the Toronto Blue Jays now 33.5 games behind Boston.
33.5. They actually have something that they can be positive about.
They do. They have one of the future superstars of the game, which we'll see him next season.
So they have two things that they can be positive about. I was just going to say that at 33.5 out, they can be positive about the fact that they are not 57.5.
They're 14 games up on somebody.
57.5 games out. The Baltimore Orioles at 41-103.
I mentioned it a couple shows ago. What's gonna be higher? The Baltimore Orioles games out of first place total or Edwin Diaz's save? So right now, Baltimore is in the lead, 57.5 to 54.
Also, on previous shows, we did go with a kind of an over-under thing, and I think we set it at 110 for losses by the Orioles. And I believe that we both may have been over 110. And it's looking really good to go over right here. But 110, 100, they could lose 115. They could lose 120.
They probably will.
Awful.
They probably will.
Not even worth mentioning right now, the Baltimore Orioles. I thought that we wrote them off when we threw them out of the baseline a month ago, 2 months ago, with the handling of the Manny Machado deal and the haul that they got back there. No end in sight for the Orioles.
62 games under 500.
Moving over to the...
That's not good, right?
No, that is not good. Moving over to the Central, as we said, Cleveland sitting in cruise control. As Dave likes to say since spring training, I like to recall that they did have a little bit of a hiccupy April and May, and even a hiccupy bullpen, and I'm being very nice. I'm euphemizing about that bullpen into the July and August months as well.
It's a very hiccupy dumpster fire for a little while.
Dumpster fire, yes. I was euphemizing again, but sitting in cruise control anyway for, as Dave likes to say, from spring training, at 82-64. The Cleveland Indians, followed up by the Minnesota Twins, probably the second most disappointing team in Major League Baseball. I'm going to brand the Washington Nationals as the most disappointing team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
to me anyway.
I mean, it's the Washington Nationals, or not that the expectations were really super high for the Mets, but yeah, throw them in the bad team conversation too, or most disappointing team. I know we rag on them a lot, but it's with good reason.
Seriously. But the Minnesota Twins had high expectations, made some deals positioning themselves going into the season. Didn't really pan out.
But they have Johnny Field on their roster now.
Johnny Field. 0 for 2 strikeouts, Johnny. No more fungus on the shower shoes for Johnny Field. He is no longer a Red Wing up there with the Minnesota Twins. We're going to get to the Field report in a few minutes. The Detroit Tigers 59-87. I will give the Detroit Tigers credit for something. Somebody has to. The Detroit Tigers managed to outclass many other organizations with their tribute to Justin Verlander. When Justin Verlander came back home. You don't see it too often. You see it from time to time, but you don't see it to the degree that you saw it with Justin Verlander coming back for the first time. Brought Justin Verlander to tears on the mound prior to the game. So props to the Tigers for honoring him. Justin Verlander going to be coming up on free agency. You got to think if he's getting ready to retire, maybe he goes back and plays one more year with the Tigers. Who knows? Obviously a good experience for Justin Verlander with Detroit, and obviously a good experience for Detroit with Justin Verlander. So big ups to the Tigers for
absolutely.
the way they treated him.
They had some incredible years too, with some of those Detroit Tiger teams that made some pretty deep runs in the playoffs.
The next team in the Central did not have a very good week. The Chicago White Sox lost.
Bad week.
Their prized possession, possibly the number one rated pitching prospect, or not possibly, was the number one rated pitching prospect in the game, Michael Kopech. Out with a torn UCL, Tommy John surgery. No good. So not a good week for our boys in Chicago there.
No, and to even more demoralize the fans there, they announced a couple weeks ago that they would not be promoting Eloy Jimenez to the major league. So what's the point of any fans even going to see the team at this point? You know, you're discouraged. You just lost your future ace for. I mean, that's a setback that'll, we won't see him until 2020, and they don't have their hot shot hitter, future star Eloy Jimenez up. I don't get that, and that service time would not have been a factor in bringing Jimenez up. I don't understand the thought process there. To me, if you're planning on having him as part of your regular lineup, one of your starters next year, regular everyday outfielder, you bring him up for a couple weeks in September. You get his feet wet at the major league level, so he gets to be around a major league clubhouse and prepare himself for next year. I mean, that could only be good preparation.
I got 2 words. That's it. Soto, Acuna.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need to worry about, right? If you look at those 2 examples right there just this year, Torres.
Yeah.
Look at those guys.
Look what happens. Ozzie Albies last year when he was a rookie with the Braves. He got brought up at 19, 20 years old as well.
Chicago. Let him play. Bring him up. You're sending him to the Arizona Fall League instead? What is this dude going to do against 18 and 19-year-old, yes, albeit stud prospects? What's this dude going to do? He's going to go rake.
Dave is definitely on the same page, too. He threw a comment in, maybe even before we were talking about it, but he said it's karma for the White Sox being dicks and refusing to bring up Jimenez. Exactly, yeah. Dave. I couldn't have said it that eloquently, but I completely agree with the sentiment. I'll say that. Well, how about that's an early out of the baseline? Well, we'll bring him up again later, but we're throwing the Chicago White Sox out of the baseline. So, all right, coming down through the remainder of the AL Central, the Kansas City Royals in the basement, 49-95, minus 201 run differential. Not much better than the Baltimore Orioles, a little bit, but not much. So out in the NL West has been one of the most interesting divisions over the last several months, I'd say. The Houston Astros, 3.5 up on Oakland. That's going to be fun to watch down the stretch. Oakland, 5-game winning streak. Houston, 3-game winning streak. So both teams are playing outstanding baseball right now. Houston's 9-1 in their last 10. Oakland 8-2 in their last 10. So they're hanging right with them. And if they can get hot, I don't know what the schedule looks like, but we shall see. So I'll keep running down here. We got Seattle Mariners 79-65, 12 games back. The Los Angeles Angels 72-73, one of the other most disappointing teams in baseball. We've mentioned them as being a team that we had high hopes for. And Ohtani, all the hype, he's been hurt. A little disappointing there. Apparently, though, he went on a tear as soon as he injured his elbow. He's now able to crush home runs. So I don't know. Maybe there's something about a damaged UCL that makes you swing a bat and take care of business at the plate. I don't know. So we got the Texas Rangers rounding out the bottom, 62-83, 29.5 games back. So that's your American League. Boston, Cleveland are sure things. Oakland fighting for that last spot will likely get it because they are up considerably on Seattle. So we have our playoff teams locked into the American League. It's just a matter of how those West teams finish in order and how Oakland and New York shape out. We'll see which team gets the first wild card and who gets the second. Over in the NL, the Atlanta Braves have opened up that division lead by 7 games now. Philadelphia has lost 4. Their bullpen is falling apart. It looks like Atlanta, barring a serious run by Philadelphia here in the next couple of weeks, is going to win the division title. And that's a team that we were kind of talking about as a potential sleeper at the beginning of the year. But I had no expectations of them winning the division this year. So it's pretty cool to see, and it's a very fun young team with Acuna. Let's see, Acuna, a bunch of great young talent. Nick Markakis having a great year. So Atlanta's doing...
It's really some of the best baseball that I've been watching lately. I kind of missed the days of TBS, if you remember, where we could watch every Braves game. Because if I could watch every Braves game, I'd sit down and watch every Braves game. That's how good they've been to me.
Yeah, and we had a local guy, Mark Lemke, went to the same high school you and I did. That was added incentive to watch those games back in the day on TBS and watch those Brave teams who I rooted for always in the NL. And then
did too.
And then of course they end up playing the Yankees in the World Series. And I'm sorry, I'm a Yankees fan. I got to root against you, Mark Lemke.
He made
Love
the
you,
last
but
out.
got to root against you. Yeah, Charlie Hayes, the Charlie Hayes catch. So Atlanta's going to win that division, it looks like, barring a very surprising surge by Philadelphia. Washington's 8.5 back. They've won 4 in a row. It's funny for how, I guess, terrible by the standards we expected of the Washington Nationals. They are only a game and a half behind the Phillies. Washington. I mean, you could see them take over second place here within the next several days at this rate. So
they should be 7 games up in that division.
That would be an interesting turn of events, though, if Washington ends up finishing in second place there. NL Central's pretty tight. That's interesting. Got the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals in that order. Milwaukee 2 back, St. Louis 4. So that's a tight race. St. Louis was on fire there for a few weeks. They've kind of come back to earth a little bit, but that's definitely a team to watch. I mean, you could see them overtake Milwaukee. Pittsburgh fell off a bit, 72 and 73, 12.5 behind. And the Cincinnati Reds, 63 and 84, 22.5 back. NL West. We got the Colorado Rockies, 79 and 64 in first place. Your Colorado Rockies. Wade Davis seems to have figured it out a little bit, but they're only 1 game ahead of Los Angeles, who is a team we expected would be way ahead of Colorado and Arizona at this point. But Los Angeles still only 1 game back, so we'll see how that goes. Arizona in third place, 2.5 back. Suffering from some bullpen dumpster fire themselves.
My God.
With some really rough bullpen performances here in the last couple of weeks, with Boxberger having major meltdowns. He's been removed from the closer role. And it looks like you're going to see Hirano. Archie Bradley's out, I believe, correct? Or is he even in the mix for closing right now?
Nope.
And so you got Hirano, and I think Brad Ziegler is there. And we'll see how they kind of cobble things together, trying to run down the Dodgers and Rockies, because I think that one's coming down to the wire.
Yeah, alluding back to what we said at the beginning of the show, that's one of those divisions right there that is completely and totally unsettled. The only thing that's settled out of that is that the Giants have bowed out, and that everybody else in that division ought to be aware of the Padres over the next 3 or 4 seasons. Those are the 2 things that are settled in that division. Other than that, the top 3 spots are up, and only 2 of them at max can make the playoffs. But you're looking right now at the division winner being the only one out of those 3 really good teams.
Yeah, like I said, Tampa Bay has a better record than all of them. So, yeah, the winner of that division is going to be the only team from the NL West to make the playoffs. So going down into the stats portion of our rundown, we'll run down this pretty quick. Mookie Betts, 340, just having an incredible season, an obvious MVP candidate. His teammate, J.D. Martinez, right behind him at 331. Mike Trout, 318. Jose Altuve, 318. And Gene Segura at 310.
Gene Segura quietly having an awesome.
He's having a really good season.
He's been a tad bit injury prone the last couple of weeks, but still.
Your boy Scooter Jeanette is now leading the NL again. He's made a surge back up the leaderboard. He's batting .321, top of the NL in batting average. And then we got Christian Yelich, who has just been one of the absolute best players in the game over the last, since the All-Star break, at least, if not longer. Ben Zobrist, 312. Lorenzo Cain at 311. And Freddie Freeman at 307.
Freddie Freeman, another guy. Awful quiet on a really good team. The Braves are going to the playoffs. That's the way it looks right now. The Braves are going to the playoffs. And every team that they play or is in their sights better take notice. Period.
Yeah, they're, like I said, man, they are a fun team to watch, and they've got some good young pitching too. Pretty good bullpen, and they're a team to watch, especially in the NL, because I don't think there's really any obvious contender there. I mean, maybe you could say the Cubs. Maybe
there's one thing that we can say for absolute certainty is that no matter who the AL representative is and the NL representative is, the AL will be a heavy favorite in Vegas in the World Series. Prove me wrong. Somebody comment, prove me wrong. But there is no scenario where the AL team is not favored. Not in my eyes. Not of all of the contenders right now. I don't see a situation where the AL team is not favored.
No, I think the only way is if it's like the Oakland A's versus the Dodgers or something.
And still.
Yeah.
It's still going to be really close. Speaking of the Oakland A's and over into the AL home run leaders, we got Chris Crush Davis. Chris with a K. Oakland Athletics with 41. JD Martinez of Boston Red Sox, 40. Seeking out, trying to win that Triple Crown there. 9 points behind his teammate in batting average and now one behind Chris Davis. Jose Ramirez of the Tribe, 38. Joey Gallo, 35, also 377 strikeouts, I believe. And Francisco Lindor with 34.
I like how we still have to specify every time Chris with a K, because I don't want to insult that guy by making anybody think we're talking about Chris with a C. Because Chris with a C, Rhys Davis, is one of the worst baseball players I've ever seen in my life. And I don't want to insult K. Rhys Davis by anybody thinking that we're talking about C. Rhys Davis. So over in the NL, Matt Carpenter leading the NL with 35 home runs. Who would have saw that coming? Who picked Matt Carpenter in the NL home run leaders pool?
No.
Not me.
If you had Matt Carpenter in the NL home run leader office pool, come on down. You've won $65. That's crazy, though. And he's done it all since the All-Star.
Yeah, he had 17 home runs, or maybe 15, I forget, but in that range, just over 15 maybe home runs in the first half of the season. And, yeah, he's just been dominant. He has been MVP-like, and it really has helped spark the St. Louis Cardinals, too, to really get back in the race.
Well, speaking of MVP, since, we kind of segued into the fact that we were going to talk about it, what's going on over there in that NL MVP race? You got some people inserting themselves right in smack dab into it. You had some interesting stats when we talked pre-show about Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich hitting .313 now. Since the All-Star break, what's Christian Yelich doing?
So Christian Yelich has been absolutely dominant since the All-Star break. And I pulled up a stat on him the other day that really kind of paints a picture of how good Christian Yelich has been. Because I've been following him this season, but I'm kind of following along, and he's not a guy that ends up on a ton of highlights, but he's somebody that has like 3 for 5 with 2 doubles. He hit for the cycle not too long ago. But yeah, let me see if I can pull up the numbers here. It was the categories that Christian Yelich leads in since the All-Star break. He's first in batting average since the All-Star break. He is tied for first in home runs, probably with Matt Carpenter, I assume. First in runs, first in RBI, and first in slugging percentage since the All-Star break. So you're talking about somebody who, rightfully so, is in the MVP conversation. I've heard his name brought up, And it's not out of the question that, a month, 2 months from now when they announce those awards, that Christian Yelich ends up being the NL MVP.
I don't disagree with you.
Especially, with the pennant races still going in that division with Matt Carpenter and Yelich. We'll see. We'll see who gets hot here in the last 2 weeks and maybe leads their team to
other guys,
a wild card, or who knows, catch the Cubs. Who knows?
There's other guys. If you're looking at Christian Yelich as a potential MVP, you almost got to look right to his teammate as well. Lorenzo Cain's got to be garnering some votes there too. Paul Goldschmidt having a really good year after a horrendous start. Could you imagine if he started even just subpar instead of just as bad as he did?
Yeah,
I mean, it was awful.
And you could say the same thing about Carpenter too. Those two guys leading the NL in home runs. Carpenter was batting 140 on May 15th.
This is truth.
And the turnaround's incredible. And Goldschmidt right there now with 33 home runs.
Javi Baez, another guy that's going to be, he's going to be there.
He's in the discussion too,
for sure. But a lot of good drama is going to be unfolding here in the next few weeks as to who gets these awards. But Christian Yelich for sure going to insert himself. And if you just look at the NL home runs leader, Carpenter, Goldschmidt, they're both going to have something to say about it. Eugenio Suarez, if Eugenio Suarez wasn't on a last place team, that's another guy that could be in the discussion for MVP.
Oh, no doubt. Not to foreshadow, but he's also leading the NL in RBIs too.
Yeah, well, that's what we call in the biz. We call that a segue. So over to the NL RBI leader, Eugenio Suarez of the Cincinnati Reds with 101. Javi Baez, the aforementioned Javi Baez from the Cubs, with 100. Trevor Story, another guy that could garner some MVP consideration, along with teammate Nolan Arenado. 100 RBIs and 97 RBIs, respectively. And Jesus Aguilar from the Milwaukee Brewers with 97 RBIs. Over to the AL.
In your American League RBI leaderboard, you got JD Martinez at number 1 with 121 RBIs.
That's it.
That's it. That's good, right?
So 331, 40, and 121 with 20 games left.
That's good, right?
That doesn't suck.
K-Riss, and to clarify, K-Riss Davis, 109 RBIs. Alex Bregman.
Great year for Chris Davis.
Great year for him.
Great year.
It's funny. He literally bats, I think it's 247 every single season. If you look at his stats the last 4 years, last year he batted 247. The year before that, he batted 247. The year before that, he batted 247. And I don't know what he's at right now, but as of yesterday or the day before, he was at 248.
K-Riss Davis.
But he is just crushing the ball. He's one of those guys that you don't care that he bats 247.
I could care less.
You could care less.
You're going to hit 40 homers and drive in 100 runs and be a really, really good force in the middle of that lineup. I mean, what are we talking about in Oakland? Really? Lowry, Olsen, Chapman?
Yeah.
I understand that these are good players. They're all solid major league players, okay? We're not talking about a whole lot of superstars there, but you do have a guy that has 41 and 100 right now, 41 and 109.
And Matt Olson is no slouch when it comes to power, too.
Not at all.
But, yeah, you're right. I mean, and Jed Lowry is having a great season.
He's having an above par season for Jed Lowry.
I hate to keep coming back to Bob Melvin, but I've said it before that he just gets the most out of these guys. It really is incredible.
He's getting a lot out of a little for sure.
So Chris Davis of the Oakland A's at 109. Alex Bregman, one of the best young up-and-coming stars in baseball right now with 100. Jose Ramirez, 99. And Edwin Encarnacion, 96.
96. How many Indians are going to end up with 100 RBI? How many Indians are going to garner MVP votes? A lot. But I don't know. I don't know if even one could finish above 5, which is crazy if you think about that AL MVP and you think about the hierarchy there. You think about how people are going to be ranked. I don't even know if Lindor or Ramirez makes in the top 4 or 5, which is crazy because they're having years that are off the charts. Off the charts. So over to the NL, we're going to look at wins, and that's Max Scherzer from the Washington Nationals with 17, Aaron Nola, Philadelphia Phillies with 16, Miles Michaelis, Potato with 15, John Lester with the Cubs, kind of having a quiet year there, 15, and Zach Greinke with 14.
All right, over in the AL. So we've kind of turned this into a little bit of a postseason awards prediction discussion. And the guy that leads the AL in wins, I would argue should be, maybe not should be, but should certainly be one of the top 2 or at worst 3 candidates for the AL Cy Young. And that's Blake Snell with 19 wins. 19 wins on that team. He almost certainly will be a 20-game winner this year. Jump ahead quick to ERA, but he is second in the AL in ERA with 2.03. So another one of the great stories of this season is how much of an ace Blake Snell is blossoming into. Number 2, Corey Kluber with 18 wins, another Cy Young quality season himself. Luis Severino with 17 wins. Rick Porcello, 16, and Carlos Carrasco with 16 wins. NL ERA, one of our favorite players to talk about this year.
So many. Jacob deGrom is hitting 177 for the year. He's got a 1.71 ERA. Seemingly 7 runs above him, Aaron Nola at 2.29, Max Scherzer at 2.31, Mike Foltynewicz, who I watched last night, he throws a blistering fastball. I understand that 96, and there's a difference between 96 and those guys that are coming out and throwing 103, but Foltynewicz is 96.
Looks, yeah, he was hitting 98 last night.
It just 98. Explodes through the zone. It's like it kicks it up a second notch when it gets 50 feet away. It's almost just like it explodes. How electric is he? And Touki Toussaint had another good start. He did have a rough outing in between two pretty good starts. Somebody to keep an eye on as part of the Braves going forward. But Mike Foltynewicz as the ace down there, the pseudo ace, with Newcomb kind of scuffling a little bit, 2.66. And Kyle Freeland, maybe, Dave, look something up, please. Lowest ERA ever in a season, in a full season by a Colorado Rockies pitcher. I want to know if anybody's ever finished a season under 3. Because Kyle Freeland is poised to do just that.
Ubaldo might have did it 1 year. He might have done it 1 year, but I could be wrong on that because he had one season where he had like 15 wins at the All-Star break, I remember. And then it was just pretty much a fluke, one dominant season.
Either way, that's impressive from
either way, he's having a very impressive season given where he pitches his home games.
Yeah, so over to the AL.
So over to the AL, your saves leader, Edwin Diaz, with 54 saves, but 3.5 behind the Baltimore Orioles for the saves versus games back race.
Where will he ever come up with that half a save?
He could do it somehow. Edwin Diaz probably could do it. I could see him getting a save and a half some night.
He did take the loss last night, though.
He did.
So not the hiccup that he was hoping for, but perhaps the hiccup that you and I were hoping for.
We can only hope. We can only hope. That is our only hope.
Help us, Edwin Diaz.
And Craig Kimbrell of the Boston Red Sox in the same boat with 38 saves. Look at that, 16 saves behind the saves leader.
There's not even enough games left to save.
Right. There's one more certain thing is that Edwin Diaz has clinched the most saves in baseball.
So, while we've gone over the wins and we've gone over the ERA, we're not delving into, the sabermetrician's delight here, but we've gone over the wins, we've gone over the ERA, we've gone over some important tangible stats for some of these AL guys here. Who's really separating themselves in the AL Cy Young Award race? Nobody. Chris Sale hasn't pitched, otherwise he'd have it locked up, but he hasn't pitched. Blake Snell, Edwin
Blake
Diaz.
Snell's ERA is right there behind Sale, too.
I agree.
Right there with him.
And all I'm saying is Edwin Diaz, because nobody has completely and totally separated themselves.
Oh, he certainly should
Edwin
be considered.
Diaz is going to be considered for AL.
And that's one of the things I was alluding to is, I mean, right now, is it Snell, Edwin Diaz, and maybe you throw Chris Sale in there for argument's sake? I mean, is that your top three? I mean, it's not cut and dry by any means. So when it's not cut and dry, it can leave the door open for a reliever having a career year, borderline historic season. He's not going to break the record for saves. I think he needs like 9 more, and so it's possible, but it's not likely.
No, I'm going to give him 6.
Yeah,
I'm going to give him an
like
even
5 or 6 more.
I'm going to give him an even 60. Even 60 for Edwin Diaz, but 54 right now. And like you said, 16 behind him, Craig Kimbrell. 38 saves, it's a heck of a year.
Yeah, and he'll get more, too. He'll end up with more than 40. Yep. Blake Trinan, 37 right there. Chapman, despite the time missed, at 31 saves. And Shane Green, 28 saves for Shane Green.
I think this may be the first show in a while that we haven't mentioned Manny Machado in
being on the leaderboard for the
AL average leaderboard. He's finally been supplanted by lack of, because he was hitting 315, so he would still be 5th. But he's finally been supplanted.
He no longer
by that,
qualifies.
That pesky qualification standard. I just thought of that. Your NL saves leader, Wade Davis in Colorado with 39. Kenley Jansen with 34. Felipe Rivero Vasquez, 32. Brad Boxberger with 32. And Bud Norris, no longer the save man in St. Louis. What's going on with that bullpen over there? 28 saves for Bud Norris, but I don't know.
Yeah, same could be said for Brad
Carlos
Boxberger right in front of him.
Utilized there in that role more so often than anybody else for St. Louis. So some things going on there, and currently they're in. They better figure it out. Your AL WAR leader, we have a new one.
Mookie Betts is now the AL WAR leader, 9.7 right now.
That's pretty good. 10 WAR seasons. I bet those are pretty hard to come by.
I think you have to give him the AL MVP.
I totally agree with you.
JD Martinez is the only other one that would come close, and he's a DH.
I totally agree with you. Just based on how much Mookie Betts himself impacts the game on both the bases and in the field. Mookie Betts himself, okay? So I don't want to make that seem like that would be my position on it for any other circumstance. It's because it's Mookie Betts, and because I know how good of a fielder he is and how good he runs the bases and what he brings in terms of impact on those two avenues, only because it's Mookie Betts. That's not to discount anything that JD Martinez is doing for his team and for that lineup and in the game right now, because he's absolutely dominating. But because he's got a teammate that's completely on par offensively as he is, but also brings those other two things to the table, that's the only reason that I would say that there's a slight edge. But JD Martinez, in terms of the ABs at the plate, he's on another level right now. On another level aside from Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. Yep, and I think that you'll end up seeing that the DH being the DH versus fielder debate will be the obvious.
Being an awesome DH and bringing what you bring to a lineup, you're talking about the exact same personnel. Nothing has changed on that team from last season to this season. The only things that have changed are 40 points in batting average and many more home runs and RBIs and wins and JD Martinez. Yep. Those are the things that have changed. So what has he done for that team? He's turned that team around the same entire lineup of guys, and he's turned them around. So this is not to discredit anything that JD Martinez has done, but when you analyze the seasons side by side, I give the edge to Mookie Betts right now.
I completely agree. Yeah, he's my, as much as I hate to talk good things about a player on the Boston Red Sox.
And I got Trout third and Lindor fourth.
Very well deserved.
That's the way I look at it.
MVP this year is what I see for Mookie Betts.
And
that can change over the next couple of weeks.
Trout third, Lindor fourth, Ramirez fifth. The Indians are creeping on the door for me for MVP, but right now I got Mookie Betts first, just like you say.
So yeah, Mookie Betts is your AL WAR leader, and then you got Mike Trout at 8.9. Matt Chapman, one of the best, probably the best fielding player, period. I wasn't going to say infielder, but probably the best fielder in the game, Matt Chapman at 7.9. Jose Ramirez, 7.6, and Francisco Lindor at 7.4. So that's your AL WAR leaders.
So Dave checking in response to our request a few minutes ago. First, he had written that Ubaldo had 3.66 and said, wait, that can't be right. And sure enough, it was Ubaldo, 2.88 in 2010. So Freeland's nipping on those heels.
That close.
Freeland's nipping on those heels. So we were right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that. Moving on over to the NL WAR leader. He's been leading the NL for, really our entire show and gets no credit, none, for what he's accomplished this year. He wouldn't even get more. He's not even going to get more MVP votes than his teammate. And that's Lorenzo Cain. 6.3 wins above replacement. Wouldn't even sniff it on the AL WAR board. Wouldn't even come close.
He wouldn't even be in the top 5+.
So Locaine at 6.3 wins above replacement, quietly having a fantastic year and worth the entire return for the Milwaukee Brewers at this point in time. Paul Goldschmidt with 5.7, Freddie Freeman 5.5, Javi Baez 5.4, and teammate, Milwaukee Brewers' own Christian Yelich, another guy that came over from a team that was seemingly giving up, the Miami Marlins. Christian Yelich 5.3 wins above replacement, all done in seemingly the last 3 or 4 weeks for Christian Yelich. So that's it. That's the rundown.
The rundown.
There's your rundown.
The rundown is brought to you by NyeVW. If you're in the market for a VW, stop on over to NyeVW and see our boy Mike Sacco. You tell him anything about Disruption Network, the Baseline, the D-Line, Home Free with Adeline Van Dyke, Ease Beats and Bizz. Any of our shows, any of the quality programming on Disruption Network, you bring that to Mike Sacco at NyeVW. $250 off on your new Volkswagen. You can check them out at, what's the web address? It's NyeVW. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
I will tell you a website we'll get that to you, but I'll tell you a website to go check out, and that's disruptionnetwork.net.
Yeah, no, segue.
It's got all of our shows, all of our content. You mentioned a bunch of the great ones here: Wrestle Fandom Radio, EC Radio, the D-Line, Home Free, Ease Beats and Bizz. It's all great stuff. No matter what your interests are, there is something for you at Disruption Network. So go check out the D's website, disruptionnetwork.net. Check out our old shows, any of the past episodes of any of the shows I've mentioned, a whole bunch of other great content. Check out our Facebook page, too, the Baseline. Check out the Disruption Network Facebook page. I know a lot of you are watching from that page right now, so thank you for tuning in. Please do share this video and continue to support us here at Disruption Network so that we can bring you guys a whole bunch of great content. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our 7th inning stretch here in a little bit.
Fuck, dude.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at Nye Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my Nye VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome, or visit us online at nyvwofrome.com.
The Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley was born when three top producing agents with over 25 years of combined experience selling real estate joined forces to take real estate to the next level. We practice with honesty, integrity, and the knowledge to help make the buying and selling process easy and stress-free for all of our clients. We pledge to always make our clients our top priority from start to finish, and even after the house is closed. We will always be a valued resource for information and assistance for our buyers and sellers. Our customers over the years have become not only past clients, but great friends. As we join hands together as the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley, we look forward to serving our clients and our community and making a positive difference. You can reach us at 315-601-9630 for all of your real estate needs.
Hi, this is attorney Nick Passalacqua. The team of attorneys I have assembled at Passalacqua & Associates has been carefully hand-picked to include the best trial attorneys in the particular areas of the law that we practice. Have you been charged with DWI or any other crime? Members of our team include former assistant district attorneys, now fighting to protect your rights 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have you or someone you love been seriously injured in a motor vehicle accident? Members of the team at Passalacqua & Associates include former insurance defense attorneys, now fighting to ensure that you get every penny you're entitled to. If you need legal help quick, don't waste your time or money calling anyone else. Remember, for legal help quick, you better call Nick and the team at Passalacqua & Associates. 315-500-NICK or 315-500-6425 or visit cnytriallaw.com today.
What's going on out there, Facebook land? Sorry about that. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, which surprisingly, 20 shows in, this is like the first time it's ever happened. So trying to get things straightened out here for you. In the meantime, we're going to get into the field report, and we're going to talk about our boy, your boy, Mr. Johnny Field.
Mr. Johnny David Field. So he is still with the Minnesota Twins, and he's not hitting so well still. His season WAR is down to minus 0.3. Not having a very good time with the Minnesota Twins. Let's see. Season totals now, 193 batting average. A 561 OPS.
561?
That's not good, right?
That is terrible.
So Johnny's not having such a great time. In the last, let's see, about the last month or so, he's batting .056. He's got one hit in 18 at-bats. So not going too well for Johnny.
No.
You were watching you were listening to the Twins Yankees broadcast yesterday. Correct, but it was the Twins.
Yep. So Sirius XM in the
radio
car.
feed.
I'm driving home, and obviously I want to listen to the Yankees game. So rather than listen to 1310, I tune it into channel 176 on Sirius, and that's the Yankees channel. Typically the Yankees game, and usually even when they're on the road, I can get the home broadcast. But instead, I get the Twins broadcast, and they're bringing up their whole lineup, and they're going down it, and I get to Johnny Field. Johnny Field's starting, and they refer to Johnny Field as an up-and-coming prospect.
You must have got a little chuckle out of that, huh?
I did. I did, because we know what's going on with you, Johnny. We follow you. You don't know it, but we do. And, you know, I'm extremely happy for you that you're back in the show and you no longer have fungus on your shower shoes, Johnny. I'm happy for all of that, but negative war? That's not going to keep the fungus off your shower shoes for very long, Johnny. A negative war is exactly that. You're costing your team wins, Johnny. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't do it, Johnny.
We'll see. Maybe he'll be playing for Baltimore next year or Kansas City or something. I could see him being a Kansas City Royal.
I could too.
Johnny Field of the Kansas City Royals.
Leading off for the Kansas City Royals, number 18, Johnny Field. I could. He'd fit right for their Disco Inferno night or whatever they do.
The perfect landing spot for Johnny Field. Maybe he has a future in Kansas City. We shall see. We will follow along, though.
So that is your field report. Now we're going to get into one of my favorite segments that we do here. We're going to talk about the Haps. The Haps on the Haps.
The Haps.
What's the Haps on the Haps? So each week we like to give the Haps on Ian Happ and J Happ. And so that's the Haps on the Haps. So what is the Haps on the Haps?
Here's the Haps on the Haps. So Ian Happ, he's not playing so much, actually, and he's not doing very well at all. He's 6 for 33 in his last over the last 2 weeks. 1 home run, 4 RBI, batting only 182. So he's been cold. He's not getting as much playing time, too, with Daniel Murphy there. So he is an unhappy Hap at the moment. J Hap doing pretty well.
16-6 for J Hap.
He's doing pretty well. Last 2 weeks, 1-0, 3.31 ERA, a 1.16, and he's been everything the Yankees could have asked for pretty much, picking him up at the trade deadline. So J Hap is the obvious happy Hap of the week, and props to him because he's definitely a key part of a potential playoff contender here.
Well, so I'll tell you right now that if I had to bet, J Hap starts that 1-game playoff.
Yeah, that's realistic. I mean,
because going into another series, you can still start J Hap third. And so, and
he's a lefty too.
You start
so
Severino, Tanaka.
Depends on who they play. If it's Houston or Oakland, most likely Oakland. But it depends on if you want to throw the lefty out there, or if you want to throw Tanaka or Severino. But I agree with you that he's in the discussion. Today, if it was up to me, I would probably throw Tanaka out there and give him. Obviously, you're giving any pitcher you throw out there in a game like that a very short hook. We saw it last year with Severino with the Twins. But yeah, I think it would be probably Tanaka or J Hap potentially in a 1-game playoff. They could use Hap as like a semi-opener even. Go 3 innings or something, 3-4 innings, and throw Tanaka in there too. I don't know. We'll see. Managers are getting pretty creative these days, and sometimes too creative for their own good. But yeah, that's the Haps on the Haps.
What's the Haps on the Haps? The Haps, 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 the Haps.
Love that.
I do too. Big shout out to M-Dub, our boy from Ease Beats and Bizz.
Speaking of Ease Beats and Bizz,
scratching that up for us. Appreciate that. So I think that's going to bring us, technical difficulties aside, I think that's going to bring us to our 7th inning stretch today, buddy.
I think that's where we're at, yeah.
I think we're at the 7th inning stretch.
And we were talking about what we were going to pick to kind of rank this week. And because we are closing in on the end of the season, we decided to talk about closers.
It's time for the 7th inning stretch.
It's the 7th inning stretch where each week Sean and I like to give a 7 list. We go over, all sorts of different things. Best uniforms, best nicknames, best baseball movies, greatest sluggers in the game, and this week, no different. We're going to rank our top 7 each closers or relievers in Major League Baseball history. But here's a little bit of a twist. To avoid redundancy, because obviously if we're going to rank 7 each, we're probably going to have 5 or 6 or 7 of the same guys. So
there's a catch.
So what Sean and I decided to do this week is we're going to do 14 of them. We're going to start. With
one list of 14.
We're going to start with number 14 here. Number 14 is Aroldis Chapman. We're going to start off right in current day. Mr. 104, 103 miles an hour from the left-hand side. The Cuban Missile, Aroldis Chapman. Hasn't been around too terribly long, but striking fear, especially in left-handed hitters, but striking fear into hitters since he came up, and has been a formidable force since his days with the Reds, now through the Cubs and the Yankees. Did win a World Series.
He's part of baseball folklore, being on the mound in the late stages of Game 7 of one of the best World Series you'll ever see, too, in the Chicago Cubs and Cleveland Indians a couple of years ago. He's got a long way to go to be mentioned as one of the greats.
For sure, but
why we have him down at 14.
I'll put him at 14. I'll gladly have him at 14. 235 career saves. He's only been around. This is his 8th season. So 235 career saves in 8 years. 474 innings pitched, 789 strikeouts. He's got a whip just a tad bit above 1. So he fits squarely on this list, and there should be no argument. No argument. Aroldis Chapman, closer for the New York Yankees, ranking at number 14 in our 7th inning stretch of best relievers of all time. Aroldis Chapman.
Coming in at number 13, I've got Joe Nathan.
Most
famously of
the Twinnies.
Minnesota Twins. Yeah, he started his career with the San Francisco Giants, and he had some time with the Texas Rangers and the Detroit Tigers. Actually ended up pitching for the Cubs and the San Francisco Giants in 2016. A couple games to finish out his career. He retired a couple of years ago. One of the best. You know, when we were putting this list together, we were trying to think. And granted, there are some of these names who are all-time greats that we didn't have the pleasure of watching in person. You know, we'll talk about some old-timers, I guess, to us anyway, a little later. But when we were thinking about the closers that we have watched, Joe Nathan came to mind. When he was in his prime, he was one of the most shut down relievers of his era, and he's right up there on the career saves list. He's 8th all time with 377 career saves. Outstanding career numbers. 2.87 career ERA over 16 seasons, 1.12 WHIP, and I mentioned that.
So that 1.12 WHIP is exactly what I wanted to talk about. All right, so he goes for a stretch here, 2004 to 2011, or 2010. I'm sorry, 2004 to 2010. 0.982, 0.971, 0.790, 1.0, 0.90, 0.93. It just didn't allow base runners.
And he had some years at the end there where he had just lost it for whatever reason it was. He got old and he couldn't do it anymore, and it did inflate his numbers at the end a little bit. Still incredible, though. 2.87 ERA career over that many seasons. So, yeah, I got Joe Nathan at 13. Who you got at 12?
Joe Nathan. It's so awesome that we're talking about Joe Nathan, honestly, because, you want to talk about a pretty big boneheaded trade. He was traded for A.J. Pierzynski. I don't know if you recall that. But November 14th, 2003, he was traded by the San Francisco Giants with Boof Bonser, Francisco Liriano, and Joe Nathan to the Twins for A.J. Pierzynski in cash. You think that they didn't regret that, the Giants? I mean, Boof Bonzer? You give up Boof Bonzer?
One of the best names in baseball, but
Boof.
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, other than the connotation that you're boofing something, Boof Bonzer. I can guarantee you there hasn't been a baseball podcast this season that mentioned Boof Bonzer. And if you can find it, please post it here. I'd love to hear somebody else say the word boof. So Boof Bonzer involved in a trade that sent Joe Nathan and Francisco Liriano to the Twins. So Joe Nathan. All right. So I'm going to go with a guy, kind of after my father's heart here. I'm going to go with a guy because he would say if you're ranking best relievers of all time, you cannot say any list without having the quiz on it. All right. So Dan Quisenberry is, of course, who we're talking about. 2.76 ERA for his career, 244 saves. Back before saves were fashionable. 1.175 whip. Pretty damn good. 56 and 46 for his career.
And you bring up a good point, too. You say before saves were fashionable, and it's impossible to look at the career saves leaders and just pick off the top few guys. I mean, most of the top few guys are, some of the best. But you look at somebody like Quisenberry and some of these other names, Boof Bonzer, some of these other names that we're going to see, and they're not way high up on the career saves list. Like, for example, Dan Quisenberry is 37th all-time in saves, but it was a different era when these guys pitched. And you go even further back to a few more guys that we're going to be talking about that pitched even well before Dan Quisenberry did. So, yeah, before saves were fashionable is definitely a good comment to throw in there. And one last comment on Quisenberry for me.
Led the league in saves for 4 straight years.
Is also had one of the best mustaches in the game, too, when he played. And not the last great mustache that we'll have on this list.
Definitely.
I promise you that.
So that's the quiz. Dan Quisenberry at number 12. Number 11, I think we're going to go to somebody a little more current.
Somebody a little bit more current, and somebody that we mentioned a little while ago when we were running through the AL saves leaders, and that's Craig Kimbrell, now of the Boston Red Sox, formerly of the Atlanta Braves, with a brief stay over in San Diego with the Padres. And Kimbrell he's only 30 years old, but he is sitting there at 15th all-time in saves. He has just been consistently one of the best since he made his major league debut back in 2010 with the Atlanta Braves. Led the NL in saves 4 consecutive years, 2011 until 2014. And another guy just like Chapman, too. And you could probably even put Kimbrell even higher on this list. But he's another guy just like Chapman that you figure by the end of his career, the way things are going, you will see him much, much higher in the rankings than where we currently have him here at number 11. Craig Kimbrell, integral part of that dominant Boston Red Sox team. He's second in the league in saves, a 3.21 FIP, 1.018 WHIP, and a 2.41 ERA. Again, one of the most dominant arms in the game, and it's a tough guy to put at the end of a bullpen of a team that is that good. You get this Boston Red Sox team that is just incredible, and then you have Craig Kimbrell at the end of that, just ready to lock it down.
Like this?
Yeah, there you go. You got it. Yep.
So Craig Kimbrell.
A little bit longer of a beard. Not much longer, but
I will
a little
say
bit
this
longer.
To ease any suspense for anybody out there. Highest ranked active player on our list right now. So I guess that means that we consider him the best reliever in the game right now?
As far as the
all-time
view of it goes,
all-timiness of it?
Not specifically this season or today.
All right. But one of. He ranks as one of.
One of. Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's right there. So, yeah, one of the elite arms, potentially one of the best of all time when is all is said and done here, whenever that may be.
So, speaking of good mustaches, the guy that maybe in the off season, he looks like the type of guy that you would call over to like snake a drain. And it just seems like that's the type guy he is. Got a start to his career in Cincinnati as a member of the Reds.
He's got a name that matches that too.
Unfortunately, he gets traded to Queens, New York in 1990 and just misses out on the Cincinnati Reds World Series title in 1990. And then goes on to make, an iconic run as the closer of the Mets. Of course, we're talking about the Mets captain, at least the last captain I know. But, well, no, David Wright was a captain too. So, anyway, the Mets captain, John Franco. John Franco. That's the guy on our list. So, Johnny Franco. He is, I don't know where he ranks on the all-time saves list, but I can tell you that he has 424 of them.
I believe he's fifth overall. He is the fifth most. He has the fifth most saves in Major League Baseball history.
29, 32, 39, 32, 33, 30. I believe that those two numbers that are a little bit shy of that there are injury seasons at 15 and 10. But then 30, 29, 28, 36, 38. I mean, the guy was a machine. Always a joy watching him as a Yankees fan. Getting to see John Franco. Never like to see him closing out games against the Yanks, but yeah, John Franco. List of all-time relievers. We got to mention John Franco. So that's what I got. Who you got next?
Well, we've mentioned several times that we have guys.
We're into the top 10 now. We're
some of the
9.
most epic mustaches in the history of baseball.
I think you were about to discuss the epic mustache.
The at least most recognizable mustache, because it was so unique. And I don't want to slight guys like Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly and some of these guys that had some pretty darn good mustaches, but how can you argue with Raleigh Fingers' handlebar mustache? Raleigh Fingers coming in at number 10, or sorry, number 9. Number 9 on our list.
9 times.
And another guy you could probably put way higher. I almost feel like we underrated him, but there are so many good ones. We had a hard time kind of ranking this middle tier of guys.
Hall of Famer Raleigh Fingers.
Hall of Famer Raleigh Fingers, and let's see, he on the all-time saves list is 13th.
Again, though, from
341.
An era where saves really...
Yeah, again, like we said, it wasn't looked at the same way it is now, and bullpens were used completely differently back then. So it's hard to compare numbers, but to say that somebody from that era is 13th all time in saves at 341 says a lot. So Raleigh Fingers' career numbers up there on the list, very very close to the top amongst players that played 20 to 30, 40 years ago, if not the highest player that has not played since, that played before the 80s, I should say. But he led the league in saves 3 times, 2.90 career ERA, just a shutdown reliever and one of the most recognizable mustaches in baseball lore. Raleigh Fingers, number 9.
So number 8, I'm going to throw it back. But I'm going to throw it back to a guy that actually won the Cy Young Award in 1977 as a reliever, the New York Yankees, but notably spent some time with the Boston Red Sox and the Philadelphia Phillies later on in life, but known as a New York Yankee. And that's Sparky Lyle.
Sparky Lyle.
Lyle. Career ERA at 2.88. 99 and 76, 238 career saves. As we mentioned, the Cy Young Award, a 3-time All-Star, and 77 World Series. Excuse me. Technical difficulties again. So Sparky Lyle, number 8.
Coming in at number 7, somebody I think personally believe should be in the Hall of Fame is Billy Wagner.
We talked about it before. One of our last 7th inning stretches where we said, top 7 guys not in the Hall of Fame. I had Billy Wagner pretty high on my list. That dude dominated his era.
He did. He's 6th all time in saves with 422, and that's only in 16 years. When you look at some of these other guys, and some of the numbers are skewed. Say Dennis Eckersley's got 390. Part of his time in baseball was as a starting pitcher. But Billy Wagner with 422 saves, a lefty, which isn't common amongst closers. I mean, you see it. Chapman, John Franco, who we talked about, was a lefty. But yeah, I mean, most commonly a closer will be a right-handed pitcher because typically you want to make sure you plan to use your left-handed pitchers in strategic spots in the game to play matchups. One of the most dominant guys, and one of the guys that I have these images in my head of certain moments of when he was playing, like him getting hit in the face with the line drive, inciting brawls between the Mets and Phillies back in the day. And he was one of the best. His career ERA over 16, or sorry, WHIP.
0.998. Disgusting.
0.998 career WHIP over 16 seasons.
Disgusting. 11.9 Ks per inning.
Incredible.
Ks per 9. Just disgusting.
Yeah, just shy of 1,200 strikeouts, and he pitched barely over 900 innings.
Yeah, so pretty much the pace that we were talking about with Aroldis Chapman so far in his career, just projected across 16 years. So Billy Wagner, a guy that I definitely am in total agreement with you, belongs in the Hall of Fame. And speaking of guys belonging in the Hall of Fame, at number 6 on our list, at one point in time during my lifetime, 478 saves was the number to get to. Of course, we're talking about Lee Smith. 478 career saves in 1,289 innings pitched. 1,251 strikeouts and 1,289 pitches pitched. Pretty good ratio. Not what we're used to seeing as a dominant reliever. It's upside down the other way. But a 7-time All-Star, 3-time Rolaids Relief Award winner. A bunch of teams. He pitched for a bunch of teams. But 478 career saves, probably belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean he was one of the best of his time, and it's definitely a valid argument.
The 3.03 ERA and the 71 and 92, it might throw you off a little bit, but this guy was solid as a rock.
Still 3rd all time in saves.
Yeah. Was first for a very long time until he was passed. I believe he was passed first time by Trevor Hoffman, right? Didn't Hoffman pass him first? And then
he might have, yeah.
Mo went past. We may be alluding to the rest of our list here, but
yeah,
Lee Smith
segue
coming in at number 6. How about number 5?
Number 5 is a guy that is associated with one of the most iconic moments in baseball history when Kirk Gibson hit the home run in the World Series to win Game 1 for the Los Angeles Dodgers back in 1988. But he had quite the interesting career path. Starting a starting pitcher for a while and converted into this just dominant closer. And that's the Eck, Dennis Eckersley. We've got him at number 5. He is the 7th most he has the 7th most saves of all time, 390. Pitched 24 years, but a good portion of that, like I said a few times now, was as a starting pitcher. But that didn't matter. He turned into one of the most dominant relievers of his era. He ended up with, let's see, what did I say? 390 saves And he didn't get, let's see, he had 3 career saves as of 1986. 3 career saves after 1986. He came into the majors in 1975.
Yep. With the Indians.
And completely reinvented his career. Had some hardships off the field, some struggles that he was able to overcome, and became an all-star dominant level closer. I believe he even won a Cy Young and an MVP award, which is incredible to say about a closer. And that was the year he had 51 saves, a 1.72.
It was game over. When we were kids,
1.91 ER.
When you're playing wiffle ball and somebody needed to go, let's say you needed to go to the pen or something like that, and your buddy came in to pitch, Eckersley was coming in. Anybody dropped down sidearm, it was Eckersley. He was unhittable.
And this will tell you how dominant that season was, that he won the MVP. The AL MVP voting that year, he had a 78% voting share. Kirby Puckett was next at 53. He came in second. He had 15 first place votes in the MVP race in 1992. And Kirby Puckett and Joe Carter had 3 and 4. So that's incredible. A closer having 15 first place votes, 12 more than the next guy on the list, which is Kirby Puckett, another one of the best ever.
So Dennis Eckersley.
Dennis Eckersley, the Eck, number 5.
This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable. A home run for Gibson. And the Dodgers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw. I don't believe what I just saw.
Me either, Jack Buck.
Me either. And that's actually one of my first, if not my first memory
of the World Series.
Of the World Series.
Me too.
I remember jumping up and down on my parents' bed, not even a Dodgers fan, but just in sheer excitement of what I had just witnessed and hearing the game call, being a kid, a very young kid.
Now being an aficionado.
Just getting into like the hype of the World Series and stuff and listening to a respected announcer, a respected broadcaster just screaming out that he couldn't believe what he just saw blew my mind.
Have you heard the Scully broadcast?
I have, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you a Scully guy or a Buck guy on that?
I like Buck on that one.
I don't believe what I just saw coinciding with the fist pumps kind of gives the nudge to the Buck call.
I mean, give me Vince Scully overall, but for that specific call,
go do some baseball homework out there, guys. And if you haven't listened to the 2 different calls there, the Buck call is more iconic, okay? That's the one that everybody associates with it because it's so perfectly timed with the fist bump and big props. I believe that it's John J. Filippelli. If you're a Yankees fan and you watch anything on Yes Network, the director of broadcasting or whatever his title may be is John J. Filippelli. But I believe that he was the director of that said World Series. And it was like this, to paraphrase Bob Costas, and if anybody saw Bob Costas' Hall of Fame speech this year, he talks about this moment in depth. But it was like cut like a movie. Like it was fresh out of a movie. So what a great first impression of the World Series that is to have as a youngster, where it's literally they cut to Gibson rounding the bag and pumping the fist, and then they cut back to Tommy Lasorda coming out and going nuts, and they cut to Dennis Eckersley with his head down, and I'm completely and totally I'm gashing Bob Costas' speech right now. I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's the truth. Bob Costas nailed it on the head there, but in terms of iconic relievers, at least in our day, the wiffle ball days anyway, man, Eckersley was always coming out of the pen. Always Eckersley. So fitting spot for him to be at number 5. Moving on to number 4, we got a guy that's donned a lot of jerseys, a lot of caps. But one thing that he did every place he went was slam the door shut. A 9-time All-Star, Rolaids relief winner, 1978 World Series champion. We are talking about the Goose, Rich Gossage, a 41.4 wins above replacement as a reliever. 124 and 107, 3.01 ERA, 1,500 strikeouts. 1,500 strikeouts as a reliever. Pretty damn good. Save years, saves didn't matter back then. What he would do is he would come in and he would slam the door shut for 4 innings. 224 innings pitched in 1976. Well, I was with 29 starts, I'm sorry. But 133 innings pitched, 134 innings pitched, 100 innings pitched, 102 innings pitched. Across the board with this guy, across his career, with no starts. 141 and 2/3 innings pitched in 1975. 26 saves, which led the league with 26 saves. But no starts. 141 innings pitched and no starts. That's a lot.
How times have changed, huh?
62 games started, 141 innings pitched. Or 62 games appeared in, 141 and 2/3 innings pitched. So how far the game has come, or how the game is reverting. Because you're going to be looking at the middle guys. The guys after the opener are going to be putting up remarkably similar lines to that. 62 games, no starts, 140 innings pitched. You're going to see remarkably similar lines to that. Should this opener become a thing?
Yeah, you're already starting to see it with Ryan Yarbrough with his 15 wins, and I don't know what he has for innings pitched, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting transition of bullpen usage happening again, and we'll see. We've talked about it most of the season of how we think it's something that could very well catch on, and we're seeing it more and more. So, yeah, I think that's an excellent pick. Goose Gossage, one of the greats at number 4 all time. Hall of Famer.
Speaking of Hall of Famers,
next up on our list at number 3, his career wasn't super. He didn't have the longevity, I'll put it that way, of like a Lee Smith. He was in the major leagues for 12 years. He started with the Chicago Cubs, and then he ended up going to the hated St. Louis Cardinals and continued to dominate. And that's Bruce Sutter, Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter. Cy Young Award winner Bruce Sutter.
Another guy with another reliever with a Cy Young.
He led the NL in saves 5 times in his 12 career seasons. So almost half the time he was leading the NL in saves. Top 8 in MVP voting 5 times.
5 times.
5 times top 8 MVP. One of the most dominant relievers of all time, no doubt about it. So he went from the Cubs to the Cardinals, finished his career with the Atlanta Braves, and what a Hall of Fame career it was for Bruce Sutter, coming in at number 3 on our list.
Bruce Sutter. It's going to bring us to number 2. Only guy that can sit logically at number 2. And I'll tell you what, we left a guy off our list, and I have to give him props. You know who we left off our list? I'm
Who's
giving
that?
you an opportunity to guess.
K-Rod. We left K-Rod off our list.
We left K-Rod off our list. So in terms of honorable mention, I am going to tell you about the guy who has the most all-time saves in a season. Also, somebody who just had a dominant 10-year stretch. And beyond. And that's Francisco Rodriguez. Last pitch last year for Detroit. I believe you drafted him in our fantasy baseball draft.
Yeah, I did last season. It did not go so well.
But as a member of the LA Angels, 45, 47, 40, 62. How's that for a stretch as a closer? Came into his own in 2004, 12 saves, kind of utilized as that flex role that, where Mariano came up first. It was kind of in that 7th or 8th inning role and caught the occasional save. But then in 2005, just absolutely explodes. 45, 47, 40, and 62. 68 in a third innings pitched, 62 saves. 21 runs, 17 earned. 77 strikeouts and 68 in the third innings pitched. Just one of the all-timey seasons right there. So 62 saves for K-Rod. And I feel bad that we left him off the list. And there's guys on this list that don't belong on it above K-Rod. And so go ahead and point that out if you want. So,
yeah, I left him off because I'm bitter about last season.
Error and oversight. All right.
No, he deserves to be on this list. There's no doubt about it.
We left him off. But one guy we're not leaving off, and that's the guy that sits at number 2 all-time in saves. A guy that seemingly reinvented himself at times in his career and perhaps had one of the single best pitches. And that may be some 7th inning stretch at some point in time. And I think we talked about that. Like best pitches, like Moe's cutter. Or Nolan Ryan's fastball, right? Or Aroldis Chapman's fastball, or Randy Johnson's slider. Best pitches, Trevor Hoffman's changeup has got to come up in those conversations. Of course, we're talking about Trevor Hoffman. The San Diego Padres, great later on, moved on to the Milwaukee Brewers, but widely known as the San Diego Padre, and only one of 2 guys with 600 more saves. Of course, 601 saves for Trevor Hoffman. A career high of 53 in 1998. Also led the league with 46 in 2006. Seemingly reinvented himself after being injured. And then, you're looking at like 14 years straight here of 20 saves or more. Trevor Hoffman. What else could you say?
Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman.
Hall of Fame, that is what else you can say.
You can
Hall
certainly
of
say
Famer
that officially now.
Trevor Hoffman. And he belongs there.
He does. He certainly does. And this next guy is not a Hall of Famer yet, but he will be Hall of Fame class of 2019.
I cannot wait.
The Sandman.
Cooperstown,
Super Mariano.
Connection or 7th inning stretch, or the Hideaway, or the Railroad Inn, any place, the Cooperstown. If you're listening to me, Sean and I want to come and we want to do an entire weekend of live broadcasts from your establishment. Let us know if you want to let us park there, because that's what we want to do. We want to come and we want to talk about the Sandman.
Super Mariano, or simply Mo. The all-time saves leader, 652 career saves, 952 games finished, also tops in Major League history, 2.21 career ERA, over 1,100 strikeouts as a reliever, a whip of 1 even. But that's not why I consider him the greatest.
Neither I.
The reason why I consider him the greatest is you look at these numbers.
42 saves.
You look at 42 saves. You look at a 0.7 ERA. You look at a 0.759 whip.
141 innings pitched. 86 hits.
8-1 record.
86 hits. 21 walks. 110 strikeouts and 141 innings pitched. To only 21 walks and 86 hits. Of course, we're talking about Mo, Mariano Rivera, and what you say is totally accurate.
And how appropriate.
Not about the regular season.
How appropriate that he finishes with 42 saves in this postseason
not about the
career.
Regular season.
42.
But since we've given accolades to seasons and stretches across this 7th inning stretch here, He takes over in 1997 as the full-time closer. 43-36, 45-36, 50. 28-40, 53-43, 34-30, 39, 44-33, 44-5. Obviously, we know he was hurt, and 44. That's disgusting. We haven't seen that type of longevity. Obviously, he's 50 saves clear of the next closest person, but everything else that comes along with it was just dominant.
Yeah, and how about that? He retires when he's 43 years old. And in that season, when he's 43 years old, with all of this mileage on that arm, and he never had an arm injury. The year that he missed, 2012, he was out in the field getting fly balls in Kansas City before a game.
Tore his ACL.
Tore his ACL. And with all that mileage on his arm, he's 43 years old. He comes out and he gets 44 saves, a 2.11 ERA, a whip of 1.047 as a 43-year-old. Incredible. So Mariano is our number one ranked reliever of all time.
Should be everybody's number one.
Probably no
ranked.
surprise. Yankees fans are not. I don't think there's any debate.
No. There's not. Anybody who wants to debate it, call me after. We can debate it. Your number one reliever of all time will be going into the Hall of Fame next year, so we can officially call him future Hall of Famer, Mariano Rivera.
Dave chiming in, too, with some good comments, too. And he mentions a couple names that we did talk about before we jotted down our list. And, yeah, once you get several names down on this list, it became extremely difficult to rank them because there's so many good ones that should be on the list.
Dave, just so you know, with technical difficulties, I can't watch what you're commenting on.
He said needs more Tom Henke and Hoyt Wilhelm, and he also said Eck is better than Goose.
I totally agree with you.
No argument there, really, Dave. I mean, there's a lot of gray area here when you're ranking these guys, especially because of the
I'm surprised he doesn't have Jose Mesa on that list because in terms of 90s closers, Jose Mesa was the legit deal. And we should have had him on here.
And especially when there is such a difference in eras on career saves.
We tried to mix it up a little bit. We tried to throw a couple in from each era, for fun's sake. That's all. That's what we do it for.
So that's almost the end of our show. We got a couple more things to talk about, and then we're going to head out of here.
What I want everybody to do, normally we would use this opportunity to say that the 7th inning stretch was brought to you by. I want to revert back to Disruption Network allowing us to be able to do this. But what I want everybody to do is tomorrow, I want you to tune into EC Radio with our boy Z. And,
of course.
He's going to have a special announcement. Also, they're going to be on 92.7 The Drive, and they're going to be talking all about Trip Fest. Unfortunately, I don't have the thing that I was supposed to read in front of me, but they're going to be talking all about Trip Fest. What Trip Fest is, we're going to have barbecue by Doughboy Barbecue. Thunder Watt is going to be providing some music also. Your band,
the Crazy Fools, will be there as well. And this is Saturday, October 13th at the Jews Community Center on 2310 Oneida Street. It's in memory of Captain Tripp, Vinny Morial, and I was unfortunately unable to make it last year. They did one last year, the inaugural one, and so this is the second annual, and I heard it was an awesome time, and I wish I made it. And this year, I get to make up for that. I can be there, and I'll play some music, and I'll listen to some music, and enjoy myself. So
let me give a little charge to Captain Tripp. Love you, Captain Tripp. Part of my childhood, Captain Tripp's was.
You can check out the event on Facebook too. Just search for Trip Fest 2, as in Roman numeral 2. Check out Disruption Network, the Facebook page that many of you have already visited, and there's links to the event page with all the information. But yeah, we're playing. My band's playing the Crazy Fools. Thunder Watt will also be there. The 315 All-Star Tribute to the Grateful Dead will be there. I'm very much looking forward to that. So it's going to be fun. Doughboy Barbecue, Priceless Inspections will be there. Donato Real Estate, Saranac Brewery, Dr. Scooter Del Medico, all helping put this event on, this great event in memory of Captain Tripp. So please come down and join us on Saturday, October 13th, 6 o'clock.
So we're gonna get into. That's the end of the show almost.
Just about. There's a couple notes I want to throw in here. Is supposedly David Wright is trying his hardest to get back this season and get into a game before I assume he rides off into the Medi sunset. It's been an interesting story to follow, but I guess they have a press conference tomorrow. I don't know if they're going to announce they're shutting him down, that's it, or maybe they'll announce plans for him to get into a game. Couple other things. Juan Soto, what a season he's having. He's been red hot again. He has become the first teenager in Major League Baseball history to have 3 multi-home run games. The kid's plate discipline is incredible. He is already a star, and he's definitely one of the brightest stars in the game, that he's going to be a household name, and he is going to be an absolute superstar for many, many years to come. He is now the career leader in home runs by a teenager. I think he has 19 now, I want to say, 18 or 19 home runs. Juan Soto continues to kill it. Here's another interesting one I saw was Jose Bautista became the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit a home run for 3 different teams in the same division. Started with the Braves, surprisingly, went to the Mets, surprisingly, and ended up with the Phillies and just hit his first Phillies home run the other day. So that's quite the interesting footnote for Jose Bautista.
So we're going to get into the portion of our show where we kind of close it out, and we got to throw some people out of the baseline here. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to segue off of your Juan Soto, and I'm going to segue into the Chicago White Sox. We talked a little bit at the tip of our program today about Eloy Jimenez. What I'm going to say is I'm going to throw the Chicago White Sox out.
You're out!
For not bringing up Eloy Jimenez, who is clearly ready. But it goes beyond that. It's not really about not bringing him up. It's about the fact that you're sending him to the Arizona Fall League after he's totally proven that he could probably start on any major league roster at this point in time in the season. And you're sending him to the Arizona Fall League? I understand that it's where some of the best up-and-coming prospects come. But he is not one of the best up-and-coming prospects like some of these other guys. He's somebody that should be immediately inserted into a major league lineup, like a Juan Soto or a Ronald Acuna Jr. By sending him to the Arizona Fall League, I don't know if it's going to help you puff your chest out and say, see what he did? If he either goes and hits 435 or goes and hits 194. Either way, it's going to be a win-win in terms of PR for the White Sox. You see he hit 435. It was a good move to send him there. Or you see he hit 192. He's still got work to do. Either way, you know, I know, and everybody else knows that Eloy Jimenez is not a guy that belongs in the Arizona Fall League.
Absolutely not.
He's a guy that deserved to be able to come up for the last 20 games of the season, to meet his future new teammates, and to get that major league experience this September. You failed to provide that for him, and for that,
you're out of here!
You're out of the baseline, Chicago White Sox. Number 2 out of the baseline. Who you got?
I got John Heyman.
John Heyman.
Who thinks Ohtani should be Rookie of the Year.
In the AL?
Over Miguel Andujar.
Or in the Japanese League? Not in the AL?
Seriously. John Heyman's out of the baseline.
He's got to be out of the baseline. Can we just talk about that for a second? OPS, AL rookies. Who leads it?
Miguel Andujar.
853. Slugging percentage, AL rookies. Who leads it?
Miguel Andujar.
521. On base percentage. Gleyber Torres is going to be your answer for number 1 at 347. But Miguel Andujar, 333. Nipping on his heels, I guess. But, again, a top 3, Miguel Andujar. AL rookies, batting average.
Miguel Andujar.
299. AL rookies, RBIs.
Miguel Andujar.
79. AL rookies, home runs.
I believe it's a tie.
Miguel Andujar.
Miguel Andujar is part of that.
Gleyber
tie.
Torres.
And Gleyber Torres.
AL rookie doubles by a lot.
Miguel Andujar.
40. So you see a theme developing. AL runs scored. 76.
Believe that would be Miguel Andujar.
Miguel Andujar. You see a reoccurring theme here, John Heyman? Do you see what we're talking about? Now, I understand that you want to slap some fan graphs in our face, and that's all well and good. But you can take your player that has a torn UCL, and I almost want to call it UCLA. We're so geared into it.
The UCLA Angels.
But you can take your player that's not spent nearly the amount of impactful time on the field as Miguel
Andujar.
And I'll take Miguel Andujar.
I'll take Miguel Andujar as well. And I don't want to take away from anything Ohtani has done when he's been on the field, because he has been a star. But the sample size is so limited. I know it's a great story. But
I know he can pitch.
I know it's a great story.
Yeah, he can pitch and he can hit. It's great.
And it's a somewhat tragic story.
He's not hitting fourth
with the elbow
team.
problems too. It's a somewhat tragic story at this point. So it's a great story and a tragic story at the same
And speaking
time.
of which, this was going to be my another out of the baseline anyway. I was going to tangent talk. The Los Angeles Angels, you're out of here. How many UCLs do you need to have torn?
You're out
before you get something going on with your strength and conditioning program. And the fact
Mike Scioscia probably has a torn UCL right now.
He probably does. And the fact that they are making this kid wait to get this surgery instead of being guaranteed to have him back for spring training 2020. You're going to let him swing the bat?
And he's swinging it very well.
John Heyman.
Why not get it done now? He's still a young kid. Get it done. I don't know. I don't understand. But yeah, John Heyman for saying Ohtani.
Yeah. You're out of here. And the Los Angeles Angels.
You're out of the baseline.
You are definitely out of here. But I mean, John Heyman, you watch baseball probably more than I do, which is saying a lot because I watch a lot of baseball. For you to come up with this obscene take and then share it 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 times, however many times you felt so self-indulgent on Twitter to share that ridiculousness that you shared, trying to sway someone, anyone, to agree with you. When the leader in OPS, runs scored, batting average, home runs, RBIs for AL rookies, who's having impactful at-bats in the middle of a playoff lineup. You're crazy. So for that, I say,
get the fuck out of here.
You're out of the baseline. And for us, that's going to be it.
Yeah, we're out of here too, man.
We're going to be out of here. It's good to get another show under the belt. We're going to be settled in for a little while. We're going to settle into this Wednesday slot to kind of close out the year, which is really good because it's going to give us an opportunity to cover the World Series and such. So look for us on Wednesdays. We're either going to be after Wrestling Fandom Radio or maybe a little bit earlier in the day, but we'll let everybody else know, that's how it goes.
Yeah, we'll be back at some point next week, and we will keep you all posted on when that's going to be.
For sure. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are the Baseline, and we are out of here.
We're out.
Have a good night, everybody. See you soon.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at Nye Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my Nye VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome or visit us online at nivwofrome.com.
The Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley was born when 3 top producing agents with over 25 years of combined experience selling real estate joined forces to take real estate to the next level. We practice with honesty, integrity, and the knowledge to help make the buying and selling process easy and stress-free for all of our clients. We pledge to always make our clients our top priority from start to finish and even after the house is closed. We will always be a valued resource for information and assistance for our buyers and sellers. Our customers over the years have become not only past clients, but great friends. As we join hands together as the Property Sisters of the Mohawk Valley, we look forward to serving our clients and our community and making a positive difference. You can reach us at 315-601-9630 for all of your real estate needs.
Hi, this is attorney Nick Pasalacqua. The team of attorneys I have assembled at Pasalacqua & Associates has been carefully hand-picked to include the best trial attorneys in the particular areas of the law that we practice. Have you been charged with DWI or any other crime? Members of our team include former assistant district attorneys, now fighting to protect your rights 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have you or someone you love been seriously injured in a motor vehicle accident? Members of the team at Pasalacqua & Associates include former insurance defense attorneys, now fighting to ensure that you get every penny you're entitled to. If you need legal help quick, don't waste your time or money calling anyone else. Remember, for legal help quick, you better call Nick and the team at Pasalacqua & Associates. 315-500-NICK or 315-500-6425 or visit cnytriallaw.com today.